ready? I'm gonna hand you the mic. Alright?
Y'all know what to do.
How you doing? Yeah, I'll say hello again and pretend that we're starting right now. Yeah, I guess we'll start off with some questions. What do we got?
Yeah, yesterday you were talking about your upcoming Lenny Jackson movie.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I got a call, about 3 months ago, I guess. It was while I was doing press for Apes. I was in, we were in London doing press for Kingdom, and they told me that the director of Naked Gun wanted me to come and play with them, and I was like, Jesus, that's crazy to go from Apes to Naked Gun, getting to carry these these amazing torches. So I was just excited to get to be a part of it. Liam Neeson is playing Leslie Nielsen's son, so he's playing Frank Drebin Jr. And it's that same type of dry humor, the same kind of comedy where you're not playing the comedy, it's just, which is really hard to do actually, because it's like, no, look, I'm being funny. They're like, stop being funny, it's not funny. So that comes out in July.
So who are you playing?
I play like the first thing the director asked me was like, would you be cool with turning your hair fluorescent, whatever the hell this color is? I don't know what this is. It's kind of a void color, actually. I just always love having a chance to build a different character. And now my wife really likes it, so I don't think I'll ever be able to change it back. But when she gets sick of it, then she'll say, change, I'm getting tired of you. I don't know. Any other question?
So, going to your first acting role for a start date, do you have any funny behind-the-scenes stories from when you were doing Lord of Opera?
Trying to put that skirt on was interesting. You know what? I think I had never done. I'd only done one movie at that point, Mystery Alaska. And I got cast. I went to the audition, and I didn't know a lot about the show at the time. I just knew that he was this, being the superior being, or at least saw himself as being this incredibly superior being. So I watched Pumping Iron. Watch Schwarzenegger talk about himself, and I literally went into the audition making myself believe that I was actually kind of channeling Schwarzenegger from Pumping Iron. And I had my chin up, and I was looking around at the other actors, and I was just like feeling bad for them. I was nice to them, but I was like, it's too bad you came all the way out here. Because I arrived. And I carried that into the room for the audition. And I didn't go, hello, how are you? I didn't say, I'm here to play this character. No, but I literally was channeling Schwarzenegger for that. And I got the job, obviously. And that was 120 years ago, by the way. Thank you. That's my first TV gig. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I've never worn a skirt for a character again. It's really strange because my legs are incredible.
Okay, since you are our type of fan, we're a fan of you, who are you a fan of and why?
Well, I'm a fan of you guys. I know it's not a joke. I mean, I'm so grateful. I had some pretty intense anxiety issues for years and years that I got over in the last 3 years. So this is my third con. I couldn't do this before. And I was always grateful to fans because where I come from, I'm from 21 hours north of Toronto, a place called Thunder Bay, and nobody gets to do this for a living. This is my dream. And the fact that I get to make my living because you guys watch the stuff that I'm in, and to be able to come here and get to talk to you and meet you, it means so much to me. So I'm the biggest fan of you guys. Acting-wise, when I was younger, I always felt that I was so incredibly boring, and I love that Gary Oldman, from character to character, would be a totally different person, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I was never a good student in any facet of what you would call a student. So acting teachers, I didn't always do great with. I never believed that there's one way to get from A to B. I always think that there's a million ways to get from A to B. So I taught myself how to act for film by buying a video camera after doing a bunch of theater gigs. And so I wanted to figure out how to play myself first before I could build all these characters on top of myself. And so once I figured that out, and all these other characters were able to come to fruition, and every day I'm on set, I'm the happiest damn guy you can see on that set. People always ask me why the hell I'm so happy, and I'm like, every day I'm just living my dream, you know. So that was a long answer. I answered 17 questions that you didn't even ask.
Okay, what are those?
Okay, he's first.
Hey, to all those people who just walked in, I just started early. Just, like I popped my head in the door and everybody waved, and I was like, I better start talking. You guys aren't late, I'm just early, okay? So welcome.
All right, out of all the characters you played throughout your career, TV, stage, movies, which one is closest to you in your everyday life? Which one can you relate to that this is a good chunk of me inside this character?
That's a good question, because I try to make them as different as I can. But now that I'm getting older, I'm understanding that sometimes, and very often, simplicity is better. So, I gotta say, maybe Peter from Abigail is a lot like me, because I told the directors, since I've had this kind of revelation where I was like, I think he should be French Canadian, because when I moved to LA, I felt like that, moi je suis Canadien français. I've spent my whole life trying to sound like everybody else, and I was like, what if I just played myself? And the only difference I'm not a drinker. I'm actually allergic to alcohol, but I've certainly been around a lot of drunk people. So growing up, so it was very easy for me to key into Peter with that. But I think if I had to do the job that Peter is doing, that he's been kind of somehow relegated to, I'd probably have to drink too to deal with the fact that I have to do things that I don't want to do that aren't a part of my nature. So I think Peter's probably the closest. But the closest that I will probably ever play to me is a movie that I wrote that I'm going to direct and I wrote it for myself, and I'm playing a version of myself, because I was a hockey player, and hockey's like my lifeblood. I love this sport so much, and I messed up my hockey career, and I always wondered, who would I be, like, in my early 40s, mid 40s, if I was still holding on, trying to keep playing and stay relevant. So this is a guy who's like suffering from chronic genetic encephalopathy, and he's addicted to the pain pills because he'll break his knuckles on someone's face or someone's helmet, and then he has to go back on the ice the next day. So yeah, he's this guy who's just spiraling. He's madly in love with his daughter, but he's only allowed to see her with a mediator. And, so that will be the closest to a version of me. That'll be called The Hockey Player, which hopefully will get in the can in the new year. Yeah.
So every year, I think I prep for about 3 months, ask questions at these panels. I don't want to be really deep, some kind of good question. I got to apologize to you. This year I got nothing. I was on my show for like a week, so I'm going to ask the most nerdy, geeky question that just comes out of the brain.
I love it.
Wild hogs. So that was the first thing where I really took notice of you, I think.
When we drink piss, we drink it cold.
But the scene with Martin Lawrence and the ketchup and the mushroom, he really looked like he was enjoying that. How many takes did it take?
I don't know. I don't remember. I couldn't see anything, so I was covered in mustard and ketchup. I actually don't think we did it more than once, because what happens in those situations is that, wardrobe is scrambling, right? Because if they got to do another take, then they have to have another set of wardrobe set. I'm going to venture to guess that it was once, and the reason I don't remember is because I'm 50. And I was in my 30s. But yeah, that was amazing. I remember being on that movie and just kind of holding chairs, cast chairs, and Tim Allen, John Travolta, Martin Lawrence, Ray Leo, all these incredible names, And I remember taking my chair, putting it next to those chairs, kind of looking around, taking a picture of it, sending it to my mom and dad. I'm like, holy cow! What the heck? I still feel like that today. I'll still be that kid in the candy store.
Do you prefer the mustard or the ketchup?
I like both.
Okay.
Yeah, they work perfectly together.
Okay, the scene on the movie Abigail, kind of scenes. How's it along working with late Angus Cloud?
Angus was a very, very bright light. He met the world and everybody around him with that light, and I love. Everybody fell in love with Angus, and Angus had Catherine Newton was talking to me about him one day while we were shooting. She was like, I swear to God, Angus is like our Marlon Brando. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, he just had his own way of doing things. So like, if you had a scene, he was working with like, the rest of us were all total veterans, right? Like, everybody had been around for quite a while, except for Alicia. And Alicia's like a veteran because she might be 14, but she's like, I swear to God, she's an older lady because her access is crazy. So we were used to like people just, actors just doing what's written. And Angus would just come in with these lines out of nowhere that were even better than what was written. and it would just throw us off and keep us on our toes. And we ended up really excited and anticipating the scenes that we got to do with his brother. What is he going to say now? And it was always brilliant. And he just pops off the screen again. And God rest his soul, he was a beautiful, beautiful guy, man. Yeah. Miss him.
I don't know how many people saw you in The Strain playing but I thought it was a great character.
Vasiliy Fet said thank you, and all.
How many other actual real and how many were animatronic?
I worked with a lot of real rats. I actually developed a major respect for rats because they're actually really smart. They were trained rats. I was like, what do you mean trained rats? Like, I spent a lot of time with real rats. I ended up developing an affinity for them. I don't want them crawling on me when I'm sleeping or anything, but I was like, these are really smart, survivors, you know? I mean, they were here before we got here, they'll be here way after we leave. So we had a lot of real rats. They painted in, when there would be a scene and there was like thousands or whatever, there were a lot of them painted in, but I did make several rat friends.
Very underrated series.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Vasiliy Fet was one of those characters that, when I left that character, I mourned him because he's so much cooler than I could ever be. I miss him.
The fact that he lasted the entire series.
Yeah.
Everybody else
dropped like dead.
Well, it's kind of wild because when we were, I was cast at it, and then we did these chemistry reads. Corey Scholl and I, who's Dr. Efrain, we did these chemistry reads trying to find our Nora. And so we had 6 actresses come in, reading the scenes, and Gabriel would say, well, you read the books, right? I was like, yeah. And he was like, Vasiliy doesn't smile. He doesn't show emotion. And I was like, I'm going to argue that point with you. He's like, I wrote the book. And I was like, okay, are you going to have scenes of me writing my journal? Because when he journals, he's talking about how the world's falling apart around him and he's coming into fruition. He feels more alive than he ever has. And I was like, if you're not going to show that, then let me play that. And it became, and so after we had gotten through a couple of the reads of the actresses, he just looked at me and shook his head. He's like, you're right. And then, so that's why Vasiliy, in this dark, dingy world, was just constantly becoming more and more alive and had a real zest for life, even though everything was completely falling apart.
You say everything was going to shit.
Yeah. Really watch out for those monsters,
I was just wondering, Planet of the Apes, how much of what you did was all green screen, or did you ever do practical effects? Did you ever say, get out and act out the ape?
We did, I showed up to the party a little late, so everybody had this ape school. They had 5 weeks of ape school, and they were done with that, and they started shooting when I arrived. So my ape school was like one-on-one. And I got to work one-on-one with this guy named Alain Gauthier, who was one of the founders of Cirque du Soleil. And just an incredibly talented physical actor, comedian. He and I broke down the anatomical differences between my specific ape, which was a bonobo, and a human. And we would look at the skeletal structure and just kind of go, okay, well, how would that inform movement? And we worked and built up from there. So by the time we got to the 4th week, the physical felt really, really comfortable. but we hadn't figured out her voice or anything. And he started asking me questions as Proximus, as we're doing these improvs, you know. And I would talk in my voice, because that's how I auditioned, because I didn't even want to try to add the level of simian, even though some people argue that I am quite simian. But, and I think he said something like, Proximus, how are you doing today? And all of a sudden, I feel good. And he went, huh? It is a wonderful day. And he just went and grabbed his phone, videotaped it, sent it off to the director, and you know, that voice and everything was kind of born. But it all came through the 4 weeks of rehearsal for me moving up to it. So it was like an incredible luxury. So before we shot, they took me to what we call, oh Jesus, what is that room called? Anyways, it's a room where, volume room. And in the volume room, they have all of the cameras set up all around the room, which captures the movement of all the bulbs that were attached to this suit that I had on. So it recorded all of my movement. I had a helmet that had this arm with a camera on it that would capture all of my facial movements. And then obviously, you know, the microphones would capture my voice. And I got to watch on a big screen my ape avatar moving on top of my body. So if I was walking around like this, I would look like a guy in an ape suit, you know? But if I was like, all of a sudden you started to really see the ape come alive. So we had all of this great help to bring it to fruition, and it's the most fun I've ever had to this day still. Yeah. So I'm aiming to top that somehow. I'm hoping for another 50 years, so we'll see what happens.
Good question.
Of all the movies and TV shows you worked on, what is your favorite? Which ones did you have the most fun doing?
Well, I put Apes at the top. Before I did Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the one that the movie that I liked to watch the most was 310 that I did for James Mangold. I'm so lucky to be part of that with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale, Ben Foster, and Peter Fonda. It's just like it was the most insane ensemble of actors. Dallas Roberts, and I remember the table read for that movie. Usually table read actors are a little lazy. I mean, usually just, you know, you see actors read their lines, whatnot, it's part of their process or whatever. I'm not that guy. I show up to table reads and I know all my stuff. I know what I want to do. Everybody did that on that movie. And so Russell Crowe was throwing fire at Christian Bale, and I'm like, who's this little blonde guy? Ben Foster is unreal. And I just looked over at James Mangold, and he was, the smile he had on his face, he knew he had like lightning in a bottle. And, but I would put the strain up there. I would put, to be quite honest, and I said this earlier, it's like, when I get hired for something, whether I think it's lives in the realm of Oscar contender or it's the complete opposite of that, I just always feel like the luckiest guy in the world. So they all end up being my favorite. And the characters, no matter how dark and twisted they are, because sometimes I play like some really horrible dudes, you know. I always end up playing them. Except for my character in The Captive. if anyone saw that character still gives me nightmares. I can't say I love that guy, but when I watch it, I'm like, who is that guy? No, that's you? Another very long-winded answer. You're like, that wasn't my question. I'm like, doesn't matter. Sorry.
How was it doing the X-Men version of Penguin?
You know what? I auditioned. I got called in for an audition, and they just gave me a page of dialogue. They didn't say who the character was, and they said, "We want you to play this scene. Find a way to play the extremities of all your emotion by the end of the page." And I did that, and because I lived on the verge of all of my emotions all of the time, that was very easy for me to do. And then I got the call, and they said, "You got the job." And I was like, "Sabretooth. I'm Sabretooth." I thought for sure it was Sabretooth. Who else is going to play Sabretooth? I was like, and they were like, "No, you're Blob." And I was like, I'm the what? The Blob. And they're like, "Yeah, we need somebody to be able to, really move inside of that suit and make him agile." And I was like, "Who's playing Sabretooth?" Sabretooth. I think so. But but then it ended up that I loved Fred Hughes. Right, yeah. Fred was so great, and that's the first time I worked with Hugh Jackman, and they just let me go with it. And so, like, I always remember when, we're sitting in the chopper, and he looks at the tattoo on me, and he goes, "Who's that?" And I look at him and say, "Lover." And he goes, "Lover, you just met her." And I go, "She's a gymnast." And he was shaking and crying, jumping up like a gymnast. I had the most fun ever on that. That was a good time. I'm a little hurt that they didn't ask me to come back, because I've done 3 movies with Brian. I've done 2 with you. And I guess they just didn't want to make it 4.
If they do an Elon Musk biopic, you're the guy.
Elon Musk, you know what? When before they turned my hair fluorescent for Naked Gun, when we were shooting, it's actually funny, when we were shooting Abigail in Ireland, I was in a pub with the cast and the directors, and everywhere I went in Ireland, it was the weirdest thing. This guy, a bunch of people were staring at him, and they're like, and I was like, "I'm so excited. People don't get excited for Kevin Durand. What's going on?" And then finally, the guy makes his way over with his Tesla hat on. And he's shaking, his eyes are watering. He's like, "That's sure a nice yacht you got out there." It was this giant $200 million yacht parked in the thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah? That's my yacht." Melissa Barrera looks at me and she's, "What's going on?" Then he starts going off like, love what you've done with SpaceX, and I drive a Tesla." He's going on and on and Melissa's kind of going. And then finally, he goes, "Can I shake your hand?" And I'm like, "Okay, I mean, who am I to ruin your day?" You know what I mean? And he goes, "You are Elon Musk, right?" And Melissa goes, "Yes, he is." I put it out to Darren Aronofsky. I got to work with him on Noah, and he's the one that's going to be directing that. And I was like, "Look, people on the daily, not since I've had fluorescent hair, they're kind of like, oh, I'm getting funky or something. But yeah, I get it all the time. I really hope it happens. I've been obsessed with his really fascinating idiosyncratic behavior and the way his brain works, and that would be the biggest buffet of a character. I sure hope that I get a shot at it.
She has a question up there.
Where?
The lady on the second row?
Lady on the second row.
At the end down there.
There you are. Hi.
Hi, I know you mentioned working on Abigail. How was it playing the character?
Abigail was, I was really lucky last year with Apes and Abigail, because I really loved both scripts enormously. I loved both sets of directors. Abigail was cool because they gave me a lot of freedom with Peter, and we all kind of fell in love there. Like, we were all like, we became family, we all lived in the same buildings, so we were all hanging out, home to dinner together, and Will Catlett and I were training every day together, and we just really had a magical experience. And then we shot most of the film in it was an insanely giant mansion that used to be owned by the Guinness family. If y'all are fans of Guinness, I love Guinness. And he had these secret hallways in the house that led to another mansion that you wouldn't know from the outside. And apparently that's where he would keep his mistresses, which was really insane. There was a lot of history in that house, so everywhere you look, you're like, oh man, I better have my character together, because just the character of this house will outshine all of that. Yeah, we had a wonderful time. I'm actually talking with radio sounds guys and trying to figure out what to do together next, because I love working with them. They're like some of my favorites in the world. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm back.
Hey.
All right. On the movie Legion, I mean, let's learn about this character Gabriel, and how did they put to like this heavy prop material like his armor?
Yeah, it was beautiful armor. They had done this amazing work to make it fluid as well, so I could move in it. And I was so lucky. I got to do, I'd say, about 95% of my flying on that. So like I did all my wire work on that. So I did like these 65-foot drops, landing and then punching Dennis Quaid in the head. It was awesome. It was so cool. It was a very nice man, but I loved falling from 65 feet and then cutting him with my wing and then punching him in the face. It was fun. And it was amazing. I mean, you take a room like this, and I'd be over on that side about the wall. They'd have me rigged up. I'd be holding that giant mallet with a spinning head. I would jump. I would fly right across this entire space, landed, kickball at me somewhere where the sun don't shine, and I was just like, how am I living this life right now? It was the most fun ever. And then the wings got painted in. So when I saw the final product, I was like, man, try to look cooler than that. That entrance, I was like, oh my God.
And that horn is so terrifying.
Yeah, it's nuts. And yeah, that was just insanely fun. And then those scenes with Paul, working working with another actor. I mean, he's just such a stunning actor, works from such a real, sincere place. So there was real love between these brothers, and yeah, it was glorious. Yeah, that was a highlight for sure.
You've played so many different characters with so many different actors. Is there any actor that you haven't played with that you'd like to?
Oh yeah, I would love to work with Gary Oldman. I'd love to work with Daniel Day-Lewis. I'd love to work with Tom Hardy. I'd love to work, I mean, there's like an endless list. I think Fassbender's fascinating Fassbender. Yeah, there's so many great actors I would love to work with. When I get to work with an actor who throws me as much fire as I throw, it's literally like I feel like I disappeared. And the first time that happened was when I did Mystery Alaska. And I had watched this Russell Crowe guy's movies from us. He hadn't done a lot in America. He did LA Confidential at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I watched Proof and Romper Stomp and all these movies that he'd done over in Australia. And I was like, I am going to follow this man everywhere and learn. And I would show up to set on days that I was working, and I would just watch. And sometimes he'd be like, Trey, get out of my eye line. And I would. And I've done 5 movies with him now, and I've learned such a tremendous amount from him. He's like my mentor, big bro. And I love learning from actors because I didn't really learn from teachers. I wasn't good with teachers, so when I'm on set, I learned from Alicia Weir in Abigail. She's 14 years old. She's just so good and so committed. I continue to learn. I'm trying to be a student of it, hopefully for the rest of my hopefully 140 years on this planet. Acting.
Okay, guys, we got one more question for him to ask, but then don't forget, we're gonna, yeah, they can hear me. We're gonna come in the middle like we love each other. Me and him will walk down there, we're gonna get that group picture that we always get.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So nobody leave.
Huge group hug picture after this last question. Don't be shy. We have another question? Anyone? Oh, yeah.
On the X-Men, Marvel, DC, what do you have to do to get those roles, like getting the roles in Blob? Do you have to get your manager and get them to be looking for those, let you know the moment something's available, if you want it that bad? And so, what's the character that you haven't gotten by outside of Blob? DC or Marvel? Anytime. It's fun.
Yeah, I've always been kind of surprised that I haven't done more in that realm because I'm 6'6", 260 pounds of muscle, and I'm like, why haven't I done more? Why have I only played Blob? I'm met at Marvel. I auditioned for oh my God. Is it Drax the Destroyer? Is that the part that, yeah, when I auditioned for it, it was written like Shakespearean text. When I tested, and then they obviously went a completely different way. I don't know what I have to do to try to get in there. I mean, you're asking me the question. I'm asking Marvel. What do I have to do? Bunch of jerks! Look at me!
You are
where are you going to find a better superhero? No, they covered me up with 900 pounds of fat. What are you thinking? So the answer is I don't know. Blob, I had the audition. And like I said, I thought I was going to be safe. and I wasn't, and I'm still not. It's a really, I think it's a tough group to break into, you know? I think I lucked out with Blob because I just happened to be a giant guy who could play a big realm of emotion that could move the giant suit. And then, of course, Dr. Jason Woodrue, Floronic Man from Swamp Thing, I got to play him as well, but I mean, honestly, I think that was one of the best interpretations of a graphic novel ever in DC. And I mean, I think they poo-pooed all over it. They canceled us 10 episodes in, and I was like, yeah, I don't know what happened there. Something happened. There was a switch in the guard up at the top, and they were like, no, we don't like this. And it's like, everybody loves this. Like, it's like, yeah, it's so weird. So it was really strange. Yeah, so those are my 2 forays into that world, and then, you know, I used to go, oh, I have to be that, and now I'm like, come get me if you want, I'm busy. I'm the king of the apes now. I guess that's it.
All right, everybody.